kind enough to join us from Columbus, Ohio, on his way out to the Super Bowl winning head coach Brian Billick. Brian, I got to ask you, I saw getting some pub that there is this documentary thing coming out on the Baltimore Ravens. What do you know about that?
Yeah, it was on last night. It's a 30 for 30 segment. It's unbelievable. They filmed it last fall. Basically, is the anniversary of our first Super Bowl, and they brought together myself, Shannon Sharp, Rod Woodson, Trent Dilfer, Marvin Lewis, God rest his soul, Tony Saragusa, which was very prophetic to have him, and did it at the Meyerhoff in Baltimore with all the fans. There were 3,000 fans there, and then basically just a rehashing or a revisiting of that special times. And I have not seen it yet. I taped it. I was traveling yesterday, but it was on last night, and it was a 30 for 30 segment. I'm anxious to see it.
I'm curious, when you're getting ready to go down to the Super Bowl out in Arizona tomorrow, and I'm curious, the first thing pops in your mind about the Super Bowl when you were the head coach and took the Ravens there. Was it the second the game ended? Was it something during the game? Was it something during the week?
Well, it's obviously such a special time. And in looking back in retrospect and having been around the Super Bowls the way I have, both for Fox and the NFL Network, just the scope and the size of the Super Bowl, which for me, I was totally oblivious to. We were at the hotel and we went to practice and came back, and for the whole week, and you hope your players are the same way. But it was, and particularly this year, because I was just out in Phoenix, to know that the the Phoenix Open and the Super Bowl are both going on at the same time. Phoenix is not, and I don't know that Phoenix is totally ready for the invasion of the Philly fan. As you know, that's a different breed. That they may this could be one for the record book. But for us, it was just the fact that to me, I was totally oblivious of all the things going on, and then afterwards you realize. I always tell the story. Obviously the party went all night. It was phenomenal. But in the infinite wisdom of the NFL, they make the head coach get up and have an 8:00 news conference.
Yeah.
The next morning. And about 6 a.m. or so, I left the party and went back to the suite to shower and had in the shower, for lack of a better term, kind of a panic attack. Because it was like, oh my God, what do I do now? I mean, it was just in our second year. And the expectations that you create, and it was, but it was a very special time, and obviously great memories every time I go back to the Super Bowl of our time there.
Where is that fine line, Brian? You got 2 weeks now before the game. They vacillated on that from time to time, whether it would be a week or 2 weeks, whatever it is. Now pretty much etched in stone, it's going to be 2 weeks. But when you're sitting down to create the schedule, and you alluded to it, but I'd like to hear a little bit more detail on that. Where's the fine line on being able, your players being able to enjoy the Super Bowl and some of the things that go on that don't always have to entail, going out and drinking all night or all that kind of thing? I mean, where's the line there?
Well, the most common bit of advice I got throughout, whether it was Bill Walsh or Dan Reeves or anybody that I sought input from, was don't overcoach or don't over game plan. If you try to use the entire 2 weeks, it's going to be stale by the end of. So we used the first week. We had to go the free agent, the wild card route. So we played a lot of games all on the road. So I used that first week. We did nothing physically. We met, kind of rudimentary, some game plan things. Spent most of the time. Okay, how do you get your tickets? Who's going to travel down? The hotel? All those arrangements, and our administrative staff did a phenomenal job. Had the game plan installed, even though we hadn't physically practiced it, by Sunday. We could have played the game that first Sunday, at least from a game planning standpoint. And then we came down, I think, on a Monday, and now you try to put them on a normal routine. And you do stress, look, Tampa, our Super Bowl was in Tampa. Tampa's great, but you really want to experience Tampa, do it later, okay? We're here to work. And yeah, you're going to have family down and whatever, and you want to have that kind of, enjoy live the experience, so to speak. But we're here to work. And so when we got down there, then our practices, I kind of surprised the players. I put them in pads the first week or the first practice just to kind of set a tone that, okay, we need to kind of get our pads back underneath us, put the game plan in physically because we already had it in mentally. And you really work hard to keep on them on what felt as best you could a normal week of preparation leading to the game on Sunday.
Now, when I've been to and covered more from a broadcasting standpoint, national championship games in college football, is the deal when you get to Phoenix, and most fans don't know the answer to this question, most of the time, correct me if I'm wrong, when your team gets into town, and most of the teams will come out, what, today, tomorrow, something like that?
Well, most on Monday. Probably, I don't know what they're doing, but most teams usually go in on Monday.
Okay, and so you basically are given a practice field to go practice. I guess one team maybe theoretically is given the Arizona Cardinals workout facility, and the other one is given a local high school field, right? So you got all that transportation.
I think they do it out at Arizona State.
Or Arizona State. Okay. So, Phoenix is so spread out. Much more spread out than Tampa, as an example. And Tampa's pretty spread out, but nothing like Arizona. Do you allow the players to? I mean, you have a curfew every night?
Well, and you're right, it is different compared to when it's in New Orleans or when it was in Indianapolis, where everything's just right there, which is kind of neat. Having covered the games like you have from a media standpoint, it's great when everything's right there. Phoenix, you're right, it's just so spread out. And where they're staying, I'm not sure exactly where they're staying, but it was like before. Last time I was there was when it was the Giants in New England. I mean, they're at some golf resort. They're spread out all over the place. And like I said, it's a crazy week. Yeah, you do, because we came in Monday, and you do your media obligations, and then Tuesday was their day off, and we gave them their day off. So you do whatever you want to do. But there again, particularly in Phoenix, the fact that you got both the Open and the Super Bowl, it's like, okay, well, really, what do you want to do? You better make your plans early to go out to dinner. Our families didn't come down until Wednesday. And so the players just kind of kick back on Tuesday, and then now you get back into, like you said, the normal routine of practice. Then the families come in. We had our families at a separate hotel because again, we wanted to kind of keep that. Okay, you're here, and everybody was in the separate hotel. And so you try to keep it on that same schedule. Let the families have fun and do all the things going on. And yeah, you're going to be involved with it, but the players understood. It also gave the players a great out by being in a separate hotel. As I said, okay, just put it on me, because you may not want to go do this with your family. Say, hey, I'd love to, but coach says I can't, and so I let them. I could be the bad guy if they wanted to, because most of them just wanted to kind of just chill and get ready for the game.
One final little, just because people aren't privy to this kind of thing. When you guys set up in a hotel, whatever that team hotel is, a lot of people, whether you're a salesperson, whatever the case may be, you go to these, conventions you have, and you have these enormous second and third and fourth level of convention spaces at some of these hotels. Those are typically the kind of places where you guys would go because you have so many people there. I mean, you're setting up everything. There are meeting rooms from one end of the place to the other. Medically, talk about the way that's set up. It's almost like a little mini hospital in there, right?
Yeah, it is. Basically, we took over the entire hotel, and you couldn't get in there unless you were part of the organization. We had an administrative floor. We had our meeting levels, and obviously where the therapy and the guys could get their massages and chiropractors and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously in their rooms. I remember David Modell, God rest his soul, was our president, and he had told the administrative group, he said, look, because we know what a coach is. Because you know me, I'm like every anal, retentive, obsessive coach. I'm going to constantly, okay, what's going on here? What's going on there? Are we good? And he got the entire organization and said, look, when coach makes his swing through the administrative wing, I don't care if there are bodies in the closet. I don't care if cars have blown up. When he says everything, it's sure, great, no problem, coach, no problem. So all week I'm thinking, boy, we got this thing nailed. There has not been problem one. I didn't realize there were people missing and buses blown up and all that stuff going on because they just, oh no, we're good, coach. We're no, don't worry about it. You're fine. Go back to whatever it is you do.
Look, players play, coaches coach. Generally, the team with the best players executing the way they're supposed to win the game. Is it an advantage that Andy Reid has been through this stuff? I mean, just twice in the last 3 years, third time now in the last 4.
It's an advantage if your players are used to it because, again, they know the routine. We relied heavily on a Shannon Sharp and a Rod Woodson who had been to Super Bowls because I had a team that really hadn't experienced that and really relied on their experiences to kind of set the tone and the pacing of the week. That's the biggest thing is the players dealing with all the distraction, all the other things going on and understanding what that pacing is. So from that standpoint, yeah, it is. If the more players that you have, the better it is that they just, oh yeah, this is how this happens. And and then it's obviously once you get done with practice on Friday, from Friday after practice until Sunday game time, that is the longest 48 hours in your life because it just, and that again, you have to prepare your players for that. And the game is like no other game because of pregame and how long it is. And it's a 20-minute or 30-minute halftime. So you try to prepare them for it. Okay, this is just a game to us, but this is going to feel different. So you try to stay a little focused on that. But the way and I'm sure most teams do it, the way we had it, and we were kind of sequestered in that hotel in Tampa down near the airport was a Hyatt, I think. We had the whole place. And so we were on lockdown and it was like being in our facility. So it worked out great.
When you look at this game, obviously you've got the two best teams. I don't think there's any doubt about that. At least they were during the regular season and proved to be obviously in the playoffs. Is there one team you like more than another? It's basically a pick-em game.
Yeah, it is. And obviously you have to Patrick Mahomes is such a unique, dynamic player. We've talked about that a million times. I think the physicality of Philadelphia, their ability to put pressure on a Patrick Mahomes, who's still not going to be 100% on that leg. He's going to be fine. We saw that, but not 100%. Their ability to put just a 4-man rush on Patrick Mahomes and therefore gives them more latitude to do things on the back end to shut down a Kelsey and not give up the big plays. I don't think Kansas City has played as physical a group as this Philadelphia group on both sides of the ball. And I think obviously with Jalen Hurts to run around and make some plays and their ability to run the ball and then make plays down the field, I think the Kansas City defense is going to be challenged in the way I actually thought they were going to be challenged against Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati would run the ball better. Now, there still was a good game. It was only a 3-point loss. But I thought, particularly when you got into that second half, Cincinnati was going to be able to kind of crank that running game up. I think the physicality of the offensive and defensive lines of Philadelphia is going to make the difference in the game.
All right, my friend. Well, we can't thank you enough, as always, for your time. That's great insight. Have a great rest of your day and safe travels out to Arizona.
All right, we'll do it, man.